Brain of Britain, the nationwide general knowledge contest, chaired by Russell Davis.
Hello, welcome everyone to the Radio Theatre in London, where an eager audience awaits the second contest of the 2023 Brain of Britain season. At least one of the 4 hopeful quizzes with us on the stage will be going through to the semi-finals later in the year. Let's ask today's competitors to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Peter Almond. I'm a lawyer from Bristol.
Hello, I'm Sue Brearley. I'm an administrator from South London.
Hello, I'm Leigh Haggar. I'm currently living in Glasgow.
Hello, I'm George Scratcherd. I'm an insight analyst from Barking.
Thank you all. I don't propose to go through the rules of Brain of Britain in detail every time. They aren't hard to understand after all. Fingers on buttons and the best of luck to all of you. Let's start the first round, and by virtue of the alphabet, it's you, Peter Almond, who gets the first question today. Lake Van, located in the region of eastern Anatolia near the Iran border, is the largest body of water in which country?
Turkey.
Yes. Which performer, a star of BBC radio and TV in the 1950s and 60s, is known for a sitcom series whose classic episodes include The Missing Page and The Radio Ham?
Tony Hancock.
Yes, in Hancock's Half Hour and Hancock. The best known is probably The Blood Donor, which would have made it far too easy if we'd mentioned it. The Tsugaru Strait separates the 2 largest islands of which nation?
Japan.
Yes, it's the strait between Hokkaido and Honshu. Meaning parsnip in numerous Slavic languages, what surname is shared by a man born in modern-day Romania who produced MGM musicals, his son, who became a Radio 1 disc jockey under the name Emperor Roscoe, and an author who was forced to decline the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1958?
Zanuck?
No. George Scratcherd.
Pasternak.
Yes, Pasternak. Sue Brearley's question. The 1990s comedy series Father Ted is set on which fictional island, a remote location off Ireland's west coast?
Craggy Island.
Craggy Island is the name. As many broadcast obituaries and tributes reminded us, the best-known song of the Brazilian singer Astrid Gilberto, who died in June 2023, is The Girl from Ipanema. But perhaps less well-known is where Ipanema is. It's an area of which city?
Rio de Janeiro?
Yes. In a 17th century self-portrait known as the Honeysuckle Bower, which artist presents himself sitting in a garden hand in hand with his new young wife, Isabella Brandt?
I don't know.
Okay. Peter Almond does?
Vermeer.
No. George Scratcherd?
Rembrandt.
Nope. No. It was Peter Paul Rubens. Leigh Haggar. In 2023, Michelle Yeoh took home the Best Actress Oscar for her role as Evelyn Kwan Wang in which film?
Parasite?
No. Sue Brearley.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's it. The film took several other Oscars, including Best Picture. George Scratcherd. Denali, formerly called Mount McKinley, the tallest mountain in North America, is located in which state?
Alaska.
It is. What video-focused social networking service owned by ByteDance has a very similar Chinese equivalent called Douyin?
TikTok.
Yes. Exit Pursued by a Bear is a famous stage direction in which of Shakespeare's plays?
The Winter's Tale.
It is. In a citation for this year's Time 100, the musician Questlove wrote a poem in honor of the creator of which online game, including the lines, picks usual first guess, sonar, cable, novel, stare, ashen block after ashen block, lucky, clues, hints, fifth space, amber, maybe lemon, right vowel, wrong place, tries again, 3 right.
Wordle.
It is Wordle, yes. Located near Aberfeldy in Perthshire, at almost the exact geographical centre of Scotland, Which 1,000-metre-high mountain was the site of an experiment in 1774 to determine the mass of the Earth?
Ben Nevis.
No. Peter?
Mount Keen.
No. Yes, Sue Brearley?
Sullivan?
No. Can't give you that. I'll have to tell you it's Schiehallion. End of a round. Here are the scores. Leigh Haggar has yet to score. Sue Brearley 3, Peter Almond 3, George Scratcherd 5. Time for you to have some music, Peter, from the American film composer Carter Burwell. Here's his score to a 2015 movie starring Kate Blanchett. The screenplay by Phyllis Nagy is based on the 1952 romance novel The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. After you've heard the opening theme, I'd like you to name the film.
Christine.
No. Leigh Haggar?
Carol.
Carol is the right answer, yes. We go on to Sue Brearley. With an overall length of 405 miles, the Po is the longest river in which European country?
Italy.
It is. The 2019 film Blinded by the Light, directed by Gurinder Chadha, is inspired by the journalist Sarfraz Manzoor's love of the works of which American musician and singer?
Bruce Springsteen.
Yep. In the original 1970s TV adaptation of Barbara Ufan Todd's books, who played Aunt Sally to John Pertwee's Wurzel Gummidge?
Prunella Scales.
No. Leigh Haggar?
Eunice Stubbs.
Yes. Leigh, it's your turn. In information technology, what does the acronym BIOS, B-I-O-S, stand for?
I know that it's an operating system. Binary integer. No.
Okay. Somebody else have a go? Yes, George Scratcherd.
Basic input-output system.
There you have it. Yep. What I have on the card, as they say, is basic input-output services. But I think you've got the important part of the answer there. And it's your turn. In computer science, how many bits make one byte?
8.
Yes. Which Arab state has a name that is derived from the Arabic meaning two seas?
Qatar.
No. Leigh Haggar?
Abu Dhabi.
No. Yes, Peter Almond?
Kuwait.
No. Sue Brearley?
Qatar.
No, it's Bahrain. But 2 syllables was right. You were onto the system, but not the answer. End of another round. Leigh Haggar has 2, Peter Almond 3, Sue Brearley 5, George Scratcherd now 7. Peter Almond, which US president signed the Federal Reserve Act into law in 1913?
Woodrow Wilson.
Correct answer, yes, creating a central banking system for the USA. In William Golding's novel The Lord of the Flies, the names of the main characters, Jack, Ralph, and Piggy, deliberately echo those of the characters Jack, Ralph, and Peterkin in which 19th century novel with a similar setting?
The Coral Island.
By R.M. Ballantyne, a children's favourite for several generations by the time Golding wrote his bleak reimagining. In September 2022, the landlord of the Fleece Inn in Worcestershire held a festival dedicated to people with a first name that, according to the Office for National Statistics, is now extinct as a baby name. Yet in 1979, it was so ordinary it was used as an archetype of a schoolboy's name in a song by XTC. What is it?
Nigel.
Yes. The Nigel Fest was held by landlord Nigel Smith, and 372 Nigels turned up. The unscrupulous South African newspaper tycoon Lambert Leroux is the central character in which satirical play by David Hare and Howard Brenton?
No, sorry.
Okay. Leigh Haggar knows?
Pravda.
Pravda, which means, of course, truth. Sue Brearley, it's your turn, and there's a clip to listen to. An episode of the Radio 4 series Soul Music explored a song written by Elvis Costello and Clive Langer for Robert Wyatt. The lyrics transcend the specific circumstances of its writing, the Falklands War and the decline of heavy industry in Britain. Once you've heard the views of philosopher Richard Ashcroft, I'd like you to name the song.
It's such a tender song. It's a caress of a song. It's a lullaby almost. And that soothing nature of it, I think, is a really big part of what makes the song so powerful. It's angry, but it's reflectively angry and inwardly asking and searching.
Shipbuilding.
Shipbuilding is right. Yes, well done. In 1978, the artist and gay rights activist Gilbert Baker designed which symbol to represent the LGBTQ+ community?
The rainbow flag.
The Rainbow Pride flag was his, yes. In 2023, as part of a scientific study to test the health of the nation's soil, the Country Trust asked schools, families and farmers across the UK to bury what item of clothing in their gardens?
Pants.
Yes. 100% cotton underpants. The scheme is called Plant Your Pants. After 2 months, the pants should be dug up. The more holes in them, the healthier the soil. The author Doris Lessing, although closely associated with the continent of Africa, was actually born in which country in 1919?
India?
No. George Scratcherd?
USA?
Nope. Peter Almond?
England.
No. Ingenious, but no. Leigh Haggar?
New Zealand?
No, it was Persia. Later, Iran, of course. Leigh Haggar's question. Which New York City building, known for its Art Deco design and chrome spire, was briefly the tallest building in the world on its completion in 1930?
Time of the Chrysler or the Empire State? Empire State Building.
Nope, I'm afraid not. George Scratcherd?
Chrysler Building.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Lee. It was the Chrysler Building. The Art Deco skyscraper located on the east side of Manhattan, yes. George's question we're coming to. Which Norwegian explorer was the first to reach the South Pole, the first to make a ship voyage through the Northwest Passage, and one of the first to cross the Arctic by air?
Roald Amundsen.
Roald Amundsen, yes. Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn are just 3 of the many regions of which world?
Pokemon.
Yes, from the successful game franchise. In 2021, the estate of which author filed an intellectual property complaint against a similarly named cryptocurrency, whose creators insisted that the letters in its name stood for Journey Through Risk to Reward?
J.R.R. Tolkien.
J.R.R. Tolkien, yes. The so-called J.R.R. token used the tagline, one token that rules them all. The global seed vault is deep inside a mountain on a remote island in the Svalbard archipelago, halfway between Norway and the North Pole. Which island?
Spitsbergen.
Is the right answer. In 2018, almost half of Facebook's voice messages were sent by users in what country? A fact which has been attributed to the national language having an alphabet of 74 characters, making typing difficult.
Vietnam.
No. Worth a guess, surely. Leigh Haggar?
Korea?
No. Peter Almond?
China.
No. Really? Yes.
Israel?
No, it's the Kingdom of Cambodia.
Yeah.
Not Kampuchea. The Khmer language has the largest character set of any currently used writing system. End of a round. Here are the scores now. Leigh Haggar 3 points, Peter Almond 6, Sue Brearley 8, George Scratcherd 12. Well, And with the scores in that interesting condition, let's give our competitors a bit of a breather and have a look at a couple of questions sent to us by a listener hoping to beat the brains. Today we've chosen question ideas from Daniel Tunkel, who I think has had questions chosen before, or at the very least is quite a regular correspondent. So thank you, Daniel, for these. Daniel's suggestions relate to something that was much discussed last year, so it may or may not have slipped your mind in the intervening months. Let's see. Here is his first question. For 2 days in 2022, between Liz Truss's appointment as Prime Minister and the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the monarch and the Prime Minister of the UK had the same first name. Can you tell me when this last happened and who were the monarch and Prime Minister in question?
George, I should think.
Was there a George Grenville during George III? Would there be a more recent one than that, probably? There wouldn't have been a Victoria,
No.
so it would be a George or an Edward.
George Canning in the
Canning, yeah.
Or it could have been William and William.
George the Fourth.
Yeah, Canville was up.
Yeah, yeah.
Canning was
sounds-
up.
yeah, go for that.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Canning and George IV, so sometime in the early
Sort of-
1800s?
Yes, the 1820.
A bit later than that, though. Late 1820s. It was Lord Liverpool in the 1820 itself.
Maybe sort of, late 1820s. 1830, actually, I think. We're moving the goalpost.
Well, no, you're wrong. In that case, you are wrong. In the 1830s, under King William IV, for a few months in 1834, and then again from 1835 to 37, his Prime Minister was Lord Melbourne, whose given name was William Lamb. So here's, you might find this funny. Here's the second part of Daniel's question then. And it says here it's a bit tougher. I'm not sure about that. There are just 2 other occasions in history, going back further than William IV, when this coincidence happened. In both cases, can you name the Prime Ministers?
I think we had this already, don't we? Canning and Grenville.
Okay, yes, you're right on this one. George Canning in 1827 during the reign of George IV. And going further back, George Grenville from 1763 to 65 in the reign of George III. George Grenville was the brother-in-law of William Pitt the Elder, who became Prime Minister a couple of years later. So if you think Prime Ministers are drawn from a narrow social circle these days, remember how much worse it used to be. But anyway, well done with that. But thank you, Daniel. Our brains, you stumped them with one part of your question at least. So you'll be getting your book voucher prize after all. Well done. And our audience is always keen to reward you anyway for your efforts with a regal round of applause. We're always open to your question ideas for this part of the programme, and the email to use is brainofbritain@bbc.co.uk. Your questions don't have to be related in theme, but please do try and make sure there's a bit of food for thought in both of them that might prompt some discussion among our brains. Let's get back to today's heat. Fingers back on buttons, and we start the next round with you again, Peter Almond. The bird, sometimes called the sea parrot, is more commonly known by what name?
The puffin.
Yes. Which 6-letter word can follow golden grey, thin-lipped grey, and thick-lipped grey in the names of species of British fish? Out of time. Leigh Haggar.
Trout?
No. George Scratcherd.
Salmon.
No. No more tries. No. Mullet. Mullet. Sue Brearley now. The Canon's Yeoman, Sir Topaz, and the Sergeant at Law are 3 of the less well-known characters in which 14th century collection of stories?
The Canterbury Tales.
By Geoffrey Chaucer, yes. Arguably, the most famous tree in the UK, the major oak, is found in which forest?
Forest of Dean.
Nope. Peter Almond.
Sherwood Forest.
Sherwood Forest in Nottinghamshire, yes. According to folklore, it was where Robin Hood and his merry men took shelter. And it's certainly old enough, having been dated as at least 800 years old. Music coming up for you, Leigh Haggar, now. 2023 is the 60th anniversary of the recording of a piece of library music called Left Bank 2 by the Novel Tones. The track regularly featured in a British children's television programme which began in 1964. After you've heard it, I'd like you to name the original series that first used this music.
Vision On.
Vision On is absolutely right. Well done, yes. The Kinderdijk area in the Netherlands is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its 19 what?
Bridges?
No.
The canal? No.
George Scratcherd?
Windmills?
Yes, corny, isn't it? But it's true, yes. George Scratcherd, your turn. Count Orlok was the name of the central character played by Max Schreck in a German expressionist film of 1922 based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. What was the name of the film?
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, directed by F.W. Murnau. In 1993, which Southeast Asian island was described by the speculative fiction writer William Gibson as Disneyland with the death penalty?
Singapore?
Yes, in the title of an article written for Wired magazine in 1993. What word meaning a blank or missing part is also the name of the company that erases memories in the 2004 film The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Tabula rasa?
No, that would be good, but no. Does anyone remember that one? No? It was called Lacuna, Lacuna Inc. At the end of another round, Leigh Haggar now has 4 points, Peter Almond 8, Sue Brearley 9, George Scratcherd 15. And I have to warn you folks that this will have to be the last round of the contest. And it's back to you, Peter Almond. What two-word rhyming nickname was popularly applied to Margaret Thatcher after her decision as Education Secretary in the early 70s to stop the provision of free milk to junior school pupils?
Milk Snatcher.
Milk Snatcher, yes. In British comic fiction, at what school is Nigel Molesworth a pupil?
St. Olaf's.
No. Sue Brearley?
St Custard's.
St. Custard's, yes. In the books by Geoffrey Willens and Ronald Searle. That is the right answer. Sue Brearley, in Douglas Adams's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which character has 2 heads, 3 arms, and an awful taste in clothing?
Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yes, Mark Wing Davey portrayed Beeblebrox in the radio and television versions. In 2021, an American judge ended a controversial conservatorship that had given the pop star's father personal and financial control over his daughter for 13 years. Which pop star?
Britney Spears.
Yes. What do the letters LDV stand for, as in the abbreviation of the original name given to the World War II organisation that became known as the Home Guard?
Land Defence Force.
No. Peter Almond?
Local Defence Volunteers.
That's precisely right, yes. Leigh Haggar's question. Broadcast on BBC television in 1990, what's the title of the comedy series written by David Croft and Jimmy Perry, set in an upper-class residence in the 1920s, a pastiche of the ITV drama Upstairs, Downstairs?
You rang, my lord.
Yes, the series was the last of the many very successful Croft and Perry collaborations. Which word can follow phyllo and shoe in the name of foodstuffs?
Pastry.
Yes. The TV show The Many Saints of Newark is a prequel to which other critically acclaimed series?
The Sopranos.
Yes. Alphonse Karr, spelt K-A-R-R, has given his name to a type of what plant, which being extremely fast-growing and low maintenance, is ideal for preserving privacy in urban gardens?
Bamboo.
It's a tall bamboo, yes. Which musical instrument in the early years of its manufacture was nicknamed the Raincatcher?
Guitar.
No. George Scratcherd.
The theremin?
No. Yes, Peter Almond.
Mandolin?
No. Nobody knows. No, it was the sousaphone, dating from 1893. In its early form, the spectacularly large bell of the instrument pointed more or less straight up, ensuring that it did catch such rain as there was. George Scratcherd, music for you now. At the 2023 Brit Awards, the band you're about to hear received nominations for Best Group, Best Album, and won the Brit for Best Alternative Rock Act. When you've heard their 2022 single, I'm in Love with You, I'd simply like you to name them.
The 1975?
Is the right answer, yes. Gwendolen Harleth and Henley Amlinger Harcourt are leading characters in Daniel Deronda, one of the lesser-known works of which Victorian novelists?
George Eliot.
Yes. In 2016, which country became the first for almost a century to adopt the Gregorian calendar, when its crown prince, having previously used the lunar-based Hijri calendar, began paying public servants according to the solar year?
Saudi Arabia?
Yes, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Which man's copy of The Shark and the Sardines, an allegorical story by the former Guatemalan president Juan José Arevalo, will later this year become 60 years overdue from Dallas Public Library?
John F. Kennedy?
No.
No.
Peter Almond?
Lee Harvey
Yeah.
Oswald.
Leigh Harvey Oswald, yes. Oswald's failure to keep on top of his borrowings is arguably not the worst thing he did in a book-related building in Dallas in November 1963. And that brings us to the end of this second heat of Brain of Britain, with the final scores looking like this, and remarkable they are. Leigh Haggar, 8 points. Peter Almond, 11. Sue Brearley, 12. George Scratcherd, 18. So very well done indeed, George. You'll be with us again in the autumn for the semi-finals, without a doubt. You'll remember that the top-scoring runners-up also have a bit of a safety net via our repechage system, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility that both Peter Almond and Sue Brearley may qualify for the semi-finals too. What is certain is we'll be here in London again next week with another 4 competitors for the title Brain of Britain 2023. Join us then, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.